I remember being taken by my mother to a homelessness shelter at a young age, her explaining to me why the people I met there matter, and why no society can be healthy unless we take other people seriously.
We have reports from Paris. Diana, Princess of Wales, has been killed in a car accident, but what they found on her body will shock you. For 28 years, the world believed the official story. Then a mysterious package arrives at the palace. Medical files revealing a 4-centimeter stab wound that shouldn't exist. Prince William reads one sentence and collapses instantly. Security cameras go dark. Witnesses are silenced forever. A coffin sealed with orders from the highest level. What really happened in those missing hours between Paris and London?
When I started my public life 12 years ago, I understood the media might be interested in what I did, but I was not aware of how overwhelming that attention would become.
Fast forward to October 2025, the British royal family finds itself navigating through turbulent waters. Media scandals have erupted one after another, and King Charles's health has become a growing concern among those who follow the monarchy closely. The palace, usually so skilled at maintaining its carefully crafted public image, seems to be struggling under the weight of modern scrutiny and personal challenges. It's during this particularly difficult period that something unexpected happens. A package arrives at the palace, not through official diplomatic channels, not through the usual secure routes that the royal family uses for sensitive correspondence, but through regular mail. The envelope bears a Paris postmark and carries the old emblem of Pitié-Salpêtrière Hospital, the very medical facility where Diana spent her final moments on that August night in 1997. The sight of that emblem immediately raises alarm bells within royal security. This isn't just any piece of mail. This is something that touches on one of the most painful chapters in modern royal history. Sources close to the investigation report that both the Royal Protection Command and Interpol quietly begin looking into the matter. The decision to reopen aspects of the accident investigation, nearly 3 decades after it was officially closed, speaks to how seriously the authorities are taking this delivery. Inside the package, investigators discover documents that appear to be previously unreleased information about the forensic processes that took place in 1997 and details about the funeral proceedings that were never made public. The documents describe several things that seem unusual to those reading them. They mention a coffin reinforced with lead and sealed completely shut. They reference absolute restrictions that prevented anyone except specifically authorized diplomatic personnel from viewing Diana's remains. There are references to witnesses who were legally bound to silence, required by official orders to never speak about what they saw or knew. These details raise uncomfortable questions. Was this extreme level of security and secrecy merely standard procedure for handling royal remains? Were these simply the medical and diplomatic protocols that apply in such situations? Or could there be something more to the story, something involving what happened to Princess Diana's body during those unclear hours between her death in Paris and her funeral in London? The implications are staggering. If there were secrets being kept, secrets significant enough to warrant such extraordinary measures, what would happen if that truth ever came to light? Could the British monarchy, already facing challenges in the modern era, survive the emotional and political earthquake that such revelations might trigger? These questions hang in the air as the investigation quietly moves forward. By mid-October, as cold winds from the North Atlantic begin sweeping through London, the city prepares for what promises to be a tense and uncertain winter. Golden leaves drift across the walkways of Kensington Palace, their rustling creating an almost eerie atmosphere in the fading afternoon light. Prince William returns home from an exhausting trip to the United States. He's been in Boston for the Earthshot Prize ceremonies, the environmental initiative he spent years developing and promoting. The time in America offered him a brief escape, a chance to focus on solutions for the planet's future, to engage with young innovators who give him hope that positive change is still possible. But coming home means returning to reality, and reality has been waiting for him in the form of a small package. His valet, Thomas, a man in his 50s who has served the royal household faithfully for over 2 decades, approaches him with obvious unease. In Thomas's hands rests a parcel about the size of a thick hardcover book. What immediately catches William's attention is the red wax seal gleaming under the chandelier light. It's the kind of old-fashioned touch that suggests formality, importance, perhaps even drama. Thomas explains that the package arrived while William was abroad. There's no sender information, just a postmark from Paris. Security has already examined it thoroughly and found nothing dangerous. No biological hazards, no explosives, nothing that would pose a physical threat. But as William soon discovers, some threats aren't physical. For William, the word Paris carries weight that few other place names do. For most people, it's the city of light, a destination of romance and culture and art. For him, it's forever marked by tragedy. Paris is where his mother died, inside the Pont de l'Alma tunnel on that summer night in 1997, when he was just 15 years old. Seeing that postmark immediately puts him on edge. Scrolled across the thick envelope in blue ink are words that stop him cold. For the son who deserves the truth about his mother. His heart begins racing. The truth about his mother. What is the truth? He thought he knew the truth. She died in a car accident. The investigation concluded it was a tragic collision, caused by a driver under the influence of alcohol traveling at high speed while trying to escape paparazzi. That's what the official report said. That's what he's believed for nearly 30 years. William carries the package to his private study, a quiet room lined with tall bookshelves and dominated by a portrait of Diana. Her painted eyes seem to follow him as he moves, a gentle but constant presence. His hands tremble slightly as he breaks the crimson seal. Inside, he finds a bundle of old papers. The edges are brittle with age, and the pages bear the stamp of Pitié-Salpêtrière Hospital in Paris. These appear to be medical documents, the kind of official paperwork that hospitals generate when treating patients. He begins turning through the documents, his pulse pounding, and then he sees it. A sentence that makes his blood run cold. Deep 4-centimeter stab wound in the right abdomen, inconsistent with vehicle impact. He reads it again, certain he must have misunderstood. A stab wound? How could his mother have had a stab wound from a car accident? The document seems to be suggesting that she sustained an injury that couldn't have come from the crash itself. A wave of dizziness washes over him. The study seems to waver at the edges of his vision. This can't be real, he thinks. But the document looks authentic. It has the right stamps, the right formatting, the official appearance of genuine medical records. Images he's spent years trying to suppress suddenly flood back. Being woken in the middle of the night as a teenager with the news that his mother was dead. The massive funeral procession through London's streets, watched by millions. And that sealed coffin that no one, not even her own sons, had been allowed to open. But if this document is real, it suggests something far darker than a tragic accident. It suggests murder. It suggests a cover-up. The room spins around him as these thoughts crash through his mind. He slumps into the leather chair, his breathing uneven, tears beginning to streak down his face. Thomas, hearing the commotion, rushes back into the room and immediately calls for the royal physician, panic evident in his voice. In the confusion and distress of the moment, a smaller envelope slides free from the file and falls to the floor. Written on it in stark red lettering are 6 words that will haunt William in the days to come. Don't trust what's buried with her. The message is ominous, suggesting that whatever secrets exist, they literally went to the grave with Diana. Or did they? As William lies there, struggling to process what he's just read, one question dominates all others. Who would send such a package? And why now, almost 30 years after Diana's death? What could possibly be gained by dredging up this pain, by suggesting that everything the world was told about that night in Paris was a lie? Deep into the night, while most of London sleeps peacefully, the windows of Kensington Palace continue to glow with light. The desk lamp casts a harsh shine on William's exhausted features. His eyes are swollen and red, the physical evidence of hours spent wrestling with shock, grief, and a growing sense that everything he thought he knew about his mother's death might be wrong. He sits alone in his study, the files spread out before him, feeling less like paperwork and more like a bomb that could explode his entire understanding of the past. This time he forces himself to slow down. After the initial shock that nearly caused him to collapse, he knows he needs to approach this methodically. He takes deep breaths and examines every line with careful focus. The papers appear to be copies of a medical report written by a French physician. The doctor's name is partially visible, but difficult to make out clearly. Throughout the document there are handwritten annotations, notes scrawled in what looks like rushed, unsteady handwriting. One note in particular catches his attention. Recommend extended forensic analysis. Suspected puncture injury caused by sharp instrument. The words are clinical, matter of fact, but their implications are explosive. Beneath that notation, there's another note, this one written in bold red ink that stands out against the aged paper. All procedures suspended. No additional examination. Directive from Prince Charles, Prince of Wales. William sets the document down slowly, his fingers curling into tight fists. The name of his father, right there in black and white, connected to an order to stop further investigation. The memories of his mother's funeral come flooding back with painful clarity. He remembers it like a film that's been drained of all colour, everything grey and sombre and heavy with grief. He and Harry, just boys really, walking behind their mother's coffin through the streets of London. They were surrounded by an ocean of mourners, people weeping openly for a woman they'd never met, but felt they knew intimately. What William remembers most clearly is the pleading. Both he and Harry had begged their father for one final chance to see their mother, to say goodbye properly. But Charles had refused. At the time, he'd explained it was to protect her peaceful image, to preserve their memory of her as she had been in life, vibrant and beautiful, not marked by the violence of the crash. William had accepted that explanation as a grieving 15-year-old boy. But now, seeing his father's name in order to halt the medical examination, he's forced to reconsider everything. Why would his father keep this from him? Even information about his own mother's death? The question gnaws at him. He thinks about his entire life, growing up under constant media scrutiny, learning to wear a practiced smile while nursing a broken heart inside. Diana had been more than just a princess. She'd been a global symbol of kindness and compassion, someone who used her position to shine light on difficult issues like AIDS, landmines, and homelessness. But she'd also been a casualty of palace politics, caught between her own desire to live authentically and the rigid demands of royal protocol. William stares at the file and wonders if this could be the missing piece, the key that might unlock decades of carefully guarded secrets. Or is it possible that someone has created an elaborate fake designed to manipulate him at a vulnerable moment? The uncertainty is almost worse than knowing. Across the city at Royal Police Headquarters, Inspector David Kemp has been assigned to verify the authenticity of the mysterious package. Kemp is not someone who jumps to conclusions easily. He's a seasoned investigator with more than 25 years of experience handling matters related to the royal family. Tall, with silver hair and sharp eyes that notice details others miss, he's dealt with everything from anonymous hate mail to serious terrorist threats over the course of his career. If anyone can determine whether this document is real or fabricated, it's him. His preliminary investigation reveals some interesting facts. The Paris postmark is genuine, traced to a small post office in the Montmartre neighborhood. The stationery and hospital stamps match authentic materials that were in use at Pitié-Salpêtrière Hospital. During the late 1990s, everything about the physical documents checks out, but there's a problem. The file identification number, listed as PS2139, doesn't appear in any official medical records that Kemp can access. It's as if this file existed in some parallel universe, documented but never officially logged. Sitting in his cramped office, Kemp lights a cigarette despite the building's strict no-smoking policy. He takes a long drag and exhales smoke into the stale air, his mind working through the possibilities. Something doesn't add up, he mutters to himself. This could be an extremely skilled forgery, created by someone with access to authentic materials and detailed knowledge of hospital procedures. Or it could be real documentation that was deliberately kept out of official records for reasons that remain unclear. He opens a formal case file and begins reaching out to contacts at Interpol and bringing in forensic document specialists. But beneath his professional caution, there's something else. A spark of excitement. This isn't just another routine investigation. This reaches into the heart of what might be the monarchy's greatest buried secret. If the documents are authentic, they have the power to shake the very foundations of the crown. If they're fake, then someone is playing an incredibly dangerous game, one that could have serious legal and political consequences. After a night without any sleep, William finally makes his way to the bedroom. The soft glow of a nightlight outlines Catherine's face as she sits against the headboard. She has a book in her hands, but her eyes are already on him. She's been waiting, knowing something is terribly wrong. "Kate, I don't know what to do," William admits, his voice shaking as he sits on the edge of the bed. "This could change everything. Everything we thought we knew about that night, about why things happened the way they did. I don't know who to trust anymore." Catherine gently sets her book aside and reaches for his hand. Her fingers wrap around his, her thumb tracing small circles over his tense knuckles. It's a simple gesture, but it grounds him. "We'll face it together, Will," she says softly, her voice steady and reassuring. "But you need to be careful. Don't let the past consume what we have now. Don't let it destroy you." Her arms around him provide a fragile warmth against the cold weight of the night. But William knows, with a heavy certainty settling in his chest, that this is only the beginning. The search for truth has started, and once you begin down that path, there's no turning back. You can't unlearn what you've discovered or unsee what you've seen. The following morning arrives grey and overcast, typical English weather. Weak sunlight struggles to break through the usual blanket of clouds as William climbs into his familiar Range Rover. He doesn't call ahead to announce his visit. This isn't official business. This is personal. He needs answers, and he needs them from his father. The winding roads cut through stretches of green countryside, but the scenery does nothing to calm the storm raging in his head. He keeps rehearsing what he'll say, how he'll ask the questions that need asking, without completely destroying whatever relationship he still has with his father. He arrives at Clarence's house, and the moment he steps into the small drawing room, the quiet, refined atmosphere shatters. King Charles sits in an armchair, absorbed in reviewing state documents. Queen Camilla is at his side, carefully pouring tea from an antique porcelain set. She flinches slightly when William enters unannounced, but quickly arranges a polite smile on her face. Years of royal training have taught her to mask surprise, but not quickly enough. "William, what an unexpected visit," Charles remarks. His tone is cordial, but edged with caution. He can see immediately that his son is upset about something serious. William doesn't waste time with pleasantries. His gaze locks onto his father's, and he asks the question that's been burning inside him since he opened that package. "Did you see Mother's face one last time?" The room falls completely silent. The ticking of the antique clock on the mantel suddenly seems deafening, like a countdown to an explosion. Camilla carefully places her teacup back onto its saucer, and her hand trembles just slightly. Charles exhales deeply, and the lines of fatigue on his face seem to deepen. "William, why bring this up now?" he begins, his voice controlled but strained. "After so many years, why dredge up these painful memories?" "I need an answer," William cuts in, his voice rising with emotion he can no longer contain. "I received files from Paris, medical files. They describe wounds on Mother's body, injuries that weren't from the crash. And the documents say you were the one who ordered the examination to stop. You stopped them from investigating further." Camilla speaks up, her voice quiet but firm. "William, you must understand that some things from the past are better left alone. Digging them up only causes more pain for everyone involved." William turns toward her, and anger flashes in his eyes. "And whose suffering are we talking about here? My father's, or the woman you replaced?" The words hang in the air like daggers. Camilla freezes, colour draining from her face. Once again, the old scandals of the Charles and Diana years are being dragged into the harsh light of day. The affair, the divorce, the public battles played out in the media while the whole world watched. Charles's breathing grows heavier, and when he speaks again, his tone has hardened. "I saw her, William, and I wish to God I hadn't been the last one to do it. Your mother looked peaceful, but her body was marked with terrible injuries from the accident. I made the decision I thought was right at the time." "Then why not let us see her?" William's voice cracks. "Why keep her from her own sons? Why keep her from the world? Or were you covering something up for someone?" Camilla stands abruptly, her composure finally cracking. "The world had already witnessed enough blood and tragedy, William. There are some images that should never exist, that would haunt people forever. We had to shield you and Harry, and yes, we had to protect the monarchy as well." "You don't have the right to even say her name," William shouts, his fists balled at his sides. Charles slams his palm down on the table with such force that a delicate teacup topples and shatters. Porcelain fragments scatter across the polished floor. Enough, he roars. Some truths, if exposed, would destroy what little humanity this monarchy has left. I chose silence to protect you and Harry. Don't push me to reveal everything because you might not like what you find. William turns and storms out without another word. Tears stream unchecked down his face as he climbs back into his car and drives away, his thoughts spinning, his emotions in chaos. Behind him, Camilla stands at the window, watching the vehicle disappear down the long driveway. She sighs deeply. Sometimes silence is the only thing holding a family together, she says quietly. Charles remains frozen in his chair, memories of Diana flooding back with renewed force. He knows this confrontation with his son is only the beginning of something much larger and far more difficult to control. 3 days after the confrontation at Clarence house, Prince William boards a flight to Paris. The trip is officially described as related to Earthshot prize engagements, but that's merely convenient cover. The real reason for the journey is investigation. Inspector David Kemp accompanies him, and the two men maintain a professional distance during the flight, speaking little, both absorbed in their own thoughts about what they might discover in the French capital. The aircraft descends through a curtain of light rain, and Paris appears below them, wrapped in grey mist. The so-called City of Light looks subdued and melancholy under the overcast sky. Their black car rolls slowly over cobblestone streets, passing the Eiffel Tower, which rises dimly through the fog. William barely glances at it. This trip feels less like a diplomatic visit and more like a journey backward in time, to the night when his mother took her final breath. Their first stop is Pitié-Salpêtrière Hospital, the massive medical complex where Diana was rushed after the crash in the Pont de l'Alma tunnel. Inside, the corridors echo with footsteps and the distant sounds of hospital activity. Everything feels cold and institutional. They're met by an elderly nurse whose silver hair is carefully tied back. Her name is Monique Desamps, and she's agreed to speak with them despite the years that have passed. At the sight of William, she visibly trembles. "You resemble your mother so much," she says quietly. "I remember that night as though it's still happening. I was on duty in the emergency ward when they brought her in." Kemp steps forward, his tone measured and professional. "Can you tell us what you remember about the procedures that night? Were there any unusual circumstances?" Monique takes a deep breath, her hands clasped tightly. "All the cameras in the emergency ward suddenly went black for more than 20 minutes, she says. "It wasn't a power failure. The cameras were deliberately shut off. Then orders arrived from the British Embassy. Very clear, very direct orders. Speak to no one. Share nothing about what happened that night." "Did they explain why?" Kemp asks, his pen poised over his notebook. "They said it was for medical reasons," she explains. "They said there was too much blood, that the situation was extremely sensitive and needed to be handled discreetly to avoid international complications. But it never felt right to me. Everything was too rushed, too coordinated." She looks directly at William now. The princess fought until the very end. The medical team did everything they could, but her injuries were devastating. "I'm so sorry." William's throat tightens, but he manages to speak. "Thank you for telling us this." They leave the hospital and make their way to a funeral home in Boulogne-Billancourt. The director, an older man named Claude Mercier with a neatly groomed silver moustache, receives them with somber professionalism. "I remember the princess's case very clearly," Claude says. "The coffin was sealed with a silver weld, unlike any standard procedure we normally use. It was explained to us that this was necessary to prevent chemical leaks and to preserve royal dignity during transport." "Did that strike you as unusual?" William asks. Claude nods slowly. "We had never handled anything quite like it before, but we were informed it was a special directive from the British authorities. Diplomatic orders. I didn't feel I had any right to question it. Perhaps it was meant to keep the press away, to prevent any photographs that might be disrespectful." As they prepare to leave, Kemp receives a message on his phone. "We have an update on the package." The parcel was mailed from a small post office in Montmartre by a woman in her 30s. She was wearing a black hat and used a false identity when sending it. William nods, the unsettled feeling in his gut deepening. Standing amid the flow of strangers on Parisian streets, William feels as though the truth is hovering just out of reach. Back in London, King Charles sits alone at Clarence house as the last light of day slips through heavy velvet curtains. On the table, lies Inspector Kemp's preliminary report. To Charles, these pages aren't just documents, they're blades cutting into wounds that never fully healed. He remembers flying to Paris the moment the news reached him in 1997. At Pitié-Salpêtrière Hospital, he saw Diana lying on a hospital bed, her face strangely peaceful despite the brutal injuries. Deep cuts from shattered glass, severe bruising, internal trauma beyond any hope of survival. Charles had fallen to his knees at her bedside, taking her cold hand in both of his, tears streaming freely. "I'm here to take you home," he'd whispered. "In my honor, Diana, for the sake of William and Harry." With shaking hands, he himself had placed the royal embossed shroud over her body. It was a gesture beyond official protocol, born from something deeper. He was a grief-stricken former husband and father trying to hold together the remnants of a broken family. He didn't want her remembered as a broken figure on a hospital bed, but as the woman who had captivated millions with her compassion and grace. Hours later, Charles attended an urgent meeting with British and French authorities. He signed the authorization to bring her body back to Britain. The Home Office documents recorded his request to seal the coffin, citing health and safety concerns. The coffin was lined with thick lead, a measure officials explained was necessary to contain decomposition during transport. But for Charles, the sealed coffin carried another meaning. It became a barrier between Diana and the invasive cameras that might reduce her final moments to grotesque spectacle. The door opens quietly and Catherine enters. She sits beside him and takes his hand. "Your Majesty, William is in terrible pain," she says softly. "He believes you're hiding something. He doesn't understand why the coffin was sealed or why he and Harry weren't allowed to see her one last time." Charles looks at Catherine, his eyes weary. "I signed that order, yes," he admits. "The officials told me it was required by law. International health and safety measures. They made it sound routine, necessary." He pauses. "But if I'm honest, Catherine, I know it was also about protecting William and Harry. I didn't want them to see their mother like that, covered in blood, her body showing all the violence of what happened. Diana deserved to leave this world with dignity intact." Catherine's eyes fill with tears. "I understand, Your Majesty. That's the choice a father makes out of love. But William needs to hear that from you. He needs the truth, even if it's painful." Charles turns toward the window where darkness is swallowing London. "I lost her once, Catherine. To our failed marriage, to scandal, and finally to that terrible night. I couldn't bear losing my sons as well. I wanted to spare them that cruelty." He closes his eyes briefly. "But I see now that silence doesn't always protect. Sometimes it becomes the very thing that destroys what you were trying to save." A week passes since William's journey to Paris, and during that time, London hums with speculation about the mysterious document package. News outlets run constant coverage, debating what secrets might be hidden in the royal archives. Social media explodes with conspiracy theories, each more elaborate than the last. But then the royal investigators make a breakthrough that stuns everyone. They finally identify the sender, and the revelation catches both the monarchy and global media completely off guard. The source is a woman named Eleanor Hughes, a 34-year-old former psychology researcher from Manchester. She's not a foreign agent working for some hostile government. She's not a hardened criminal with a history of fraud. She's an ordinary woman who became consumed by a private obsession that spiraled completely out of control. According to investigators, Eleanor had volunteered at a royal mental health event back in 2021. She'd hoped to present Prince William with a research paper she'd written about childhood bereavement, a subject she was convinced he was refusing to confront properly. When security politely turned her away, explaining that the prince had a full schedule and couldn't meet with every attendee personally, something inside her fractured. She took the rejection as a sign that William was deliberately avoiding the truth about his trauma. From that moment, she spiraled deeper into obsession. She began following every piece of royal news with intense focus, collecting materials related to Diana, studying photographs and documentaries. She gradually convinced herself that William needed to be freed from buried secrets, and that she was the person destined to help him. The twisted logic of her thinking led her to believe that creating false evidence was justified if it forced William to face what she saw as hidden truths. One rainy morning, police storm her small flat in a quiet Manchester suburb. What they find resembles a private Diana museum more than a home. The walls are covered with press clippings, newspaper front pages announcing Diana's death, photographs from the funeral. Bookshelves are crammed with biographies and documentaries. Her cluttered desk is dominated by an old laser printer surrounded by stacks of paper. Investigators gather the evidence methodically. They find the laser printer used to create the fake documents. They discover vintage paper Eleanor had sourced from flea markets to make the forgeries look aged and authentic. There are forged hospital stamps she'd created using graphic design software. Most importantly, they find an original copy of the 2004 Operation Paget medical report, the official investigation that had reaffirmed Diana's death resulting from the car accident with no evidence of conspiracy. Eleanor had taken this legitimate report and digitally altered it using photo editing software. She'd inserted completely fabricated details about a 4-centimeter stab wound, added false handwritten annotations, and created what appeared to be suppressed medical findings. The level of detail in her forgery was impressive, which explained why it had initially fooled even experienced investigators. As she's led away in handcuffs, Eleanor's face is ghostly pale, tears streaming down her cheeks. In the harsh fluorescent lighting of the police interrogation room, she finally breaks down and confesses everything. Her voice is shaking as she speaks, her words tumbling out between sobs. "I only wanted him to realize that truth doesn't disappear just because it's sealed away," she says. "I admire Prince William so much. He represents strength and resilience, but I thought he was living in denial. His mother was hurt, and I believed the royals had hidden the full story. I forged the documents to wake him up, to force him to face the real trauma he's been carrying all these years." Her confession reveals not calculated malice, but a deeply troubled mind. Her admiration for William had twisted into delusion, convincing her that deception was somehow an act of helping the prince she idolized. She genuinely believed she was doing the right thing, that her forgeries would set him free rather than cause him immense pain. That evening, the BBC aired a special broadcast. Millions of viewers across Britain and around the world tune in, bracing themselves for dramatic revelations. The programme is titled "Royal Investigators Reveal the Shocking Truth About Why Diana's Coffin Was Never Opened." Many expect to hear confirmation of decades-old conspiracy theories. Instead, under the studio lights, Inspector Kemp appears solemn yet clear as he delivers the official conclusion. Royal police have found no evidence that Princess Diana sustained any injuries beyond those caused by the car crash, he states firmly. The decision to seal the coffin arose from international health and transport regulations for the preservation of remains, and from Prince Charles's desire to protect her peaceful appearance and shield his sons from traumatic imagery. He pauses, letting the words settle before continuing. This is not a tale of sinister plotting or cover-ups. It is simply an act of humanity. A father protecting his sons from the horror of their mother's injuries. Sometimes the real truth doesn't lie in forged documents or conspiracy theories, but in the grief we must learn to let go of so that healing can begin. The story races across the globe within hours, dominating newspaper front pages and news websites. Headlines read, "Diana Secret, No Plot, Just Fatherly Love," and "Obsessed Admirer." Created fake documents. From the New York Times to Le Monde, discussions focus on Eleanor Hughes, the troubled woman whose broken psyche had accidentally created an international incident. In his study at Kensington Palace, William watches the broadcast with mixed emotions washing over him. Relief that there was no conspiracy, no hidden murder, no decades-long cover-up, but also sadness for this stranger whose pain had erupted into chaos, dragging his family's grief back into the harsh public spotlight. He thinks about his mother, his father, and the woman now facing criminal charges, all of them connected by threads of unresolved suffering.